Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. This is just a lesson to go over sections 11.6 and 11.7. This is what I would normally do in class. Basically, I'm just going to give you an assignment and we're going to go over it. So right now, it'd be a good idea to get out a blank sheet of paper. There's no new guided notes or anything today. Just get out a blank sheet of paper. I'm going to be showing you some problems. I want you to do them. I want to pause the recording, do those problems, and then I'm going to just go over them. Okay. So I'm going to get my face out of the way. So here's the first part. I'm just going to scroll down. So pause where you need to. So there's those problems. Going down a little more. And there's the rest of it. So I'd like you to pause here. And when you're ready, when you think you've gotten all the answers, go ahead and play. Okay. If you get all these right, you're right on track for the quiz. You're going to be fine for the quiz. Okay. Here we go. All right, so starting off here with number 45, square root of 121, make sure that you're always testing out to see if the number, if you don't recognize the number as a perfect square right away, test and see if the number is indeed a perfect square, like 121. Whoa, that's crazy. Square root of 121 is 11. So it is a perfect square. If I did the factor tree thing, if I really wanted to, the only things that would, break it up are 11 times 11, buddy up with 11, it would come out. Here's my answer. The square root of n to the fourth. Remember, I could write it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Buddies up. 2 n's coming out. N squared. That's my answer. Don't forget that the squared and the square root will cancel out, leaving just an x plus 3. A lot of people might try to distribute that power, but you don't need to. The fraction. Don't forget that you can always reduce a fraction inside there. So 75 divided by 3 is just 25. Square root of you get 5. Okay. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of d squared is d. 6d. Now, this is where it starts to get a little tricky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get 3 sets of buddies. So a y to the third coming out, but there's no buddies for that x, so it has to stay in. Okay, and there's the answer for the first 6. Okay. Here's the next 8. Okay. The square root of 12. I'm going to start putting the answers right here. Okay, here's 51. The square root of 12. Well, that's 2 and 6 and 2 and 3. So the square root of 12 is 2 times 2 times 3, or 2 radical 3. 52, I'm going to put right here. The square root of 32ab to the fifth. Okay, break down 32. That's 2 and 16, 2 and 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's, and then an A, and then 5 B's. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so that means our final answer is, now remember that we got 2 2's coming out to make a 4. They multiply it outside 4. And then 2 B's coming out, B squared. Now what's left over? It doesn't have a buddy. 2A and then a B. 2AB. That's my answer. Let's put 54 right here. Oh, 53. I don't know what I'm getting at. 53. Sorry. Well, honestly, I could do 53 right here. Break it up. The square root of 5 over the square root of 4. Square root of 5 does not reduce, but the square root of 4 reduces to 2. 54. Notice here that I can break that down. I can, reduce the fraction inside. So that's the big square root of t squared over 100, which is just square root of t squared over square root of 100, which is t over 10. Okay. Let me put 55. Let me put 55 over here. Okay. So it's the square root of 8 over 18. Oh, I don't need to have that much room. Because look what happens. If I reduce that fraction, 8/18 is 1/9. No, not 1/9. I'm sorry. 4/9 reduced by 2. So that means the square root of 4 over the square root of 9, which is 2/3. Okay. If I reduce this, looks like that doesn't reduce at all because that's just 7 times 7. But what I can do here is break this down. 32 p to the 4th. The square root of 49. So it's the square root of 32 p to the 4th over 7. Now 32 p to the 4th. Let's reduce that. 32 p to the 4th. So we saw 32 was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twos. And then so 2 buddies and 1 staying out. So 4 radical 2. Oops, I forgot my p's. So it's 4p squared radical 2 all over 7. That's my answer. Okay. Let's take a look at 57 and 58 real quick. Get those out of the way. Okay. Looking at 57 here, reduce the fraction on the inside. That gives me s squared in the bottom, t to the 9th on top. So I've got 9 t's. Now remember that we can do this rule where we divide it by 2 and put the remainder. So if I divide 9 by 2, I get 4. So t to the 4th coming out, and then 1 staying in. 4 remainder 1. And then s squared, square root of s squared turns into just s.
Oh,
and then we take a look here. 225, that seems like it's a perfect square. Let me check that. It's perfect. Is 225 a perfect square? Look at this. Square root of 225 is 15. Okay. Remember that if you don't know if a number is a perfect square or not, please try to put it in your calculator. All right. So we've got the square root of 72b to the 6th. Oops, that's a 6. Over the square root of 225, which is 15. Okay, now let's reduce down 72. 72 is 2 and 36, and then 6 and 6, and I can pull that out, 6 and a 6. So we get 6b to the 3rd, radical 2. Now look what I can do here. I've got a 6 and a 15 out front. 6 out and 15 out front reduces down. They both have a 3 in common. So 6/15 turns to be 2/5. Now, that's my final answer. What I should have done from the beginning is probably reduce to that fraction. But I didn't really see offhand that 72 and 225 were both divisible by 3. If I did that, I would get, what is 72 divided by 3? 72 divided by 3, 24. I'd get the square root of 24 over whatever 225. 225 divided by 3 is 75. Square root of 75. Okay, and then you could reduce that. Nonetheless, you'd still get the exact same answer here. Okay. All right. Hope we're all. Oops, almost ended the video and I didn't even get to the last set of problems. Thanks. Here's 59. It'd be 9 radical 3, or sorry, 9 radical 7. It'd be 3 radical 3. Remember, if they already have like terms, you can just add the coefficients or subtract the coefficients. 4 minus 1. This one, well, there's nothing I can do there. That's simplified as it is. 9 radical 5t minus 8 radical 5t is 1 radical 5t, or just radical 5t. Here, now 63. I'm going to put 63 down here. Because radical 50 minus radical 18, I have to try to reduce that. That's 2 and 25, or 5 and 5. So buddy up the 5's coming out. So that would be a 5 radical 2 minus 2 and 9, 3 and 3, 3 radical 2. 5 minus radical 2. 5 radical 2 minus 3 radical 2 is 2 radical 2. 64 radical 12 plus radical 20. So this is 2 and 6, 2 and 3, 2 radical 3, plus 2 radical 5. But I can't reduce that at all, so that's my final answer there. Okay, taking a look at the last two, 65 and 66. Here's 65. So radical 20x minus radical 80x. So 2 and 10, 2 and 5. So 2 radical 5x, 2 and 40, 2 and 20, 2 and 10, 2 and 5. Buddy here and buddy here. So that makes, let me get more room here. So this is 2 radical 5x minus 4 radical 5x. So negative 2 radical 5x. Oh my gosh, I keep clicking the button. Okay, one more problem here. Here's 66. I've got 4 radical 54 minus radical 24. All right, 54, 2 and 27, 3 and 9, 3 and 3. This is 3 and 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. Okay, so let's look at buddies here. So we've got 4 already out there, and then a set of 3s coming out with the 54. And then a 6 on the inside. The 2 and the 3 go back together to make a 6. I've got a set of 2s coming out with the 24, and then a 6 staying in with the 2 and the 3 here. So this is a 12 radical 6 minus 2 radical 6, or a 10 radical 6. There's my answer. All right. I hope we're all having a good day, and good luck on your quiz. Let me know if there's any other questions. Make sure you're checking the checking Canvas for any updates, and make sure you're jumping on for any conferences that you need to. Let me know if you have questions. Okay. See you, everybody.